I never imagined I would find myself recounting such a story, but life, it seems, has a way of pulling you into unexpected places. My name is Ethan, and until recently, I believed I led a perfectly ordinary life. My wife, Amanda, and I had been married for 7 years. We didn't have children yet, but we had always planned to start a family soon. At least, that's what I thought. Last weekend, everything changed. It began with a text message. Amanda had been a bit distant for the past month, but she'd chalked it up to stress from work. She's a marketing executive, always busy with campaigns and deadlines. I didn't think much of it when she said she was attending a networking event last Friday evening. But on Saturday, she insisted I take some time for myself and go hang out with my buddies. I thought it was sweet of her to encourage me to unwind. Then, that same afternoon, my phone buzzed. It was from Kate, a mutual friend of ours. She and Amanda had been close in college, but we hadn't kept in touch much over the years. The message was brief. "Hey Ethan, just a heads up, you're invited to the surprise party for Amanda tonight at 7 p.m. at Joe's place. Hope to see you there. Don't tell Amanda." Obviously, winky face. I was confused. Amanda hadn't mentioned any surprise party, and it wasn't even close to her birthday. Why would there be a party for her? I decided to go along with it. Perhaps her colleagues had organized something for her as a way to unwind from all the stress at work. I didn't tell her about the text, thinking it would ruin the surprise. The moment I walked into Joe's place that evening, I knew something was off. The house was packed with people, most of whom I didn't recognize. Amanda wasn't in sight. The vibe was far from the usual casual gatherings we used to have. The music was loud, drinks flowed freely, and people seemed, let's just say, overly comfortable with one another. It felt more like an underground club than a typical get-together. Kate spotted me first. She rushed over, looking slightly panicked. "Ethan, you made it," she said, clearly nervous. "Where's Amanda?" I asked, scanning the room. "She's, upstairs," Kate stammered. "You know, mingling." "Mingling," I repeated, raising an eyebrow. Something about her tone didn't sit right with me. Kate tried to pull me toward the bar, but I shook her off and started heading upstairs. My gut told me that whatever was happening, it wasn't something I was going to like. As I climbed the steps, I heard faint laughter and voices coming from one of the rooms at the end of the hallway. My heart was pounding. I opened the door and froze. There she was, my wife, Amanda, sitting way too close to another man on a small couch. Her back was to me, but the way she leaned into him told me everything I needed to know. The guy, in his mid-30s, sharp-dressed and smug-looking, was whispering something into her ear. Her laugh was soft, the kind she used to reserve just for me. She hadn't noticed me yet, but a few others in the room had. The moment they saw me, their conversations halted, and an awkward silence spread like wildfire. That's when Amanda finally turned around. Her eyes widened in horror, and the color drained from her face. She didn't say a word. The room felt like it had been vacuum sealed, every pair of eyes darting between the two of us. I took a deep breath, keeping my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside me. "Amanda," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Having fun at your networking event?" Her lips parted, but no words came out. Everyone was staring at us now. "Surprise," I added, a bitter edge to my voice. With that, I turned around and walked out of the room. I didn't say another word to her that night. I left the house and drove home in silence, my mind racing with questions I wasn't ready to face. What was this party really about? Who was that guy? And, most importantly, how long had she been hiding whatever this was from me? Little did I know, this was just the beginning of the rabbit hole I was about to fall into. When I got home that night, I sat in the driveway for a while, gripping the steering wheel like it might shatter in my hands. My mind was a whirlwind of questions, accusations, and doubts. Was I overreacting? Maybe it wasn't what it looked like. Maybe there was a reasonable explanation. But the look on Amanda's face when she saw me said it all. That wasn't guilt from being caught laughing with a friend. That was the kind of guilt you feel when the truth comes crashing down and there's no way to hide it anymore. I went inside and poured myself a drink, something I rarely did. The silence in our house felt heavier than usual. Amanda didn't come home for hours. When she finally did, I heard her keys fumbling at the door. She walked in cautiously, as though she knew she was stepping into enemy territory. "Ethan," she said softly, her voice trembling. "Can we talk?" I didn't look at her right away. I just swirled the whiskey in my glass, staring at the amber liquid like it held some kind of answer. Finally, I turned to face her. Talk, I said, keeping my tone cold and detached. She hesitated, wringing her hands like a child caught stealing cookies. It wasn't what it looked like, she began, her voice barely above a whisper. I let out a bitter laugh. You're really going with that, Amanda? I walked into a house full of strangers, saw you cozying up to some guy in a private room, and you think I'll just believe it was nothing? Her face flushed, and she opened her mouth to respond, but I didn't give her the chance. I'm not stupid, Amanda. So here's your chance. Be honest with me. Who was that guy, and what the hell kind of surprise party was this supposed to be? She took a shaky breath, and for a moment, I thought she might actually tell me the truth. But then she looked away, her lips pressing into a thin line. He's just a friend from work, and the party. It was just a misunderstanding. I didn't even know Kate invited you. I shook my head, feeling a mix of anger and disappointment. A friend from work? You really expect me to buy that? You've been acting strange for weeks, Amanda. Do you think I haven't noticed the late nights, the constant texting, the sudden interest in networking events? And now this. Tears welled up in her eyes, but I wasn't falling for it, not this time. I swear. Ethan, nothing happened, she stammered. I love you. Please, you have to believe me. I stood up, my chest tight with frustration. You want me to believe you? Then prove it. Tell me the truth, Amanda, because if you don't, I'll find out on my own. Her tears spilled over, and she reached out to touch my arm, but I stepped back. Ethan, please, she pleaded. It was a mistake. I shouldn't have been there, but I swear nothing happened. You mean everything to me. I didn't respond. I just stared at her, trying to figure out if there was any trace of the woman I fell in love with left in her. I'm sleeping in the guest room tonight, I said finally. And tomorrow, I'm calling Kate. Maybe she can tell me what this party was really about. Amanda's face crumpled, but I didn't care. I turned and walked away, leaving her standing there in the living room. That night, I barely slept. My mind kept replaying the scene at the party, her reaction, and the vague excuses she'd given me. Something wasn't adding up, and I was determined to get to the bottom of it. The next morning, Amanda was gone before I woke up. She left a note on the counter saying she was staying at a friend's house for a few days to give me space. That was fine by me. It gave me the chance to dig deeper without her hovering around. The first thing I did was call Kate. She picked up on the second ring. Hey, Ethan, she said nervously. How are you? Cut the small talk, Kate, I said, my tone sharp. What the hell was that party about last night? And don't lie to me. I already know Amanda wasn't there for a networking event. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. I could hear her breathing, could almost picture her trying to decide how much to tell me. Ethan, I don't know if it's my place to say, she said finally. Kate, I'm asking you as someone who's been friends with Amanda for years. Please, I need to know what's going on. Another pause, then, in a voice so quiet I almost didn't hear it, she said, You're right. It wasn't a networking event. And that guy you saw her with? His name is Daniel. They've been spending a lot of time together lately. My stomach dropped. What do you mean, a lot of time? I asked, my voice trembling. Kate sighed. I didn't want to get involved, Ethan, but I've seen them together outside of work. I thought maybe it was innocent at first, but last night, the way they were acting, I don't think it is. The weight of her words hit me like a freight train. I thanked her and hung up, my hands shaking. I had my confirmation, but it wasn't enough. I needed more. If Amanda thought she could keep lying to me, she was about to learn just how wrong she was. Kate's words replayed in my mind all day. I don't think it's innocent. It was the kind of thing you don't want to hear but can't ignore. I didn't want to believe it, but deep down, I already knew the truth. Amanda wasn't just being friendly with this Daniel guy. There was something more, something she'd been hiding. That evening, I decided to take matters into my own hands. If Amanda wasn't going to tell me the truth, I was going to find it myself. The first thing I did was check our shared credit card statements. Amanda rarely used cash, so I figured it would be the easiest way to track her movements. Sure enough, there were a few charges that stood out. Expensive dinners at places I'd never heard of, boutique hotel reservations, and even a purchase at a jewelry store. My heart sank as I scrolled through the transactions. She hadn't bought jewelry for me in years. But it wasn't just the money, it was the timing. Every one of those charges lined up with the nights she'd claimed to be working late or attending networking events. The puzzle pieces were starting to come together, and the picture they formed wasn't pretty. I needed more proof, something undeniable. That's when I remembered Amanda's phone. She'd always been glued to it lately, and she never left it unattended. But she wasn't home, which gave me the perfect opportunity. I checked the nightstand drawer where she usually kept her backup phone. Sure enough, it was there. She must have forgotten to take it with her when she left this morning. I powered it on and held my breath, hoping she hadn't changed her password. To my relief, it was still the same. Once I was in, I went straight to her messaging app. What I found made my blood run cold. There were dozens of messages between Amanda and someone named Daniel. Some of them were innocent enough, small talk, work-related things, but the further back I scrolled, the more explicit they became. There were flirty texts, photos of them together at what looked like a cabin, and messages that left no doubt about what was going on. One message in particular stood out. "Last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you. I wish we didn't have to sneak around." Sneak around. Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. They confirmed what I'd suspected all along. This wasn't just an emotional affair. Amanda was physically cheating on me. I felt a mix of rage and heartbreak as I stared at the screen. 7 years of marriage, countless memories, and this is how she repaid me, by sneaking around with some guy from work. I wanted to throw the phone across the room, to break something, to scream. But instead, I took a deep breath and focused on what I needed to do next. I took screenshots of every incriminating message and saved them to my computer. If Amanda thought she could deny this, I wanted to have evidence to back me up. Then, I started planning. I wasn't the type to go for violent revenge. That's not who I am. But I wasn't going to let her get away with this either. By the time Amanda came home that night, I was sitting in the living room, waiting for her. She walked in, her face pale and drawn, and froze when she saw me. "Ethan," she said cautiously, "what are you doing up?" I held up my phone, showing her the screenshots I'd taken. "Care to explain this?" Her eyes widened, and she took a step back, like she'd been physically struck. Where did you get that?" she stammered. "It doesn't matter where I got it," I said coldly. "What matters is what it says. How long has this been going on, Amanda? How long have you been sneaking around with Daniel?" She opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. For a moment, I thought she might try to deny it again, but then her shoulders slumped, and she let out a shaky breath. 6 months, she admitted quietly. "It started as a friendship, but it just happened. I didn't mean for it to." "You didn't mean for it to?" I repeated, my voice rising. "You've been lying to me for 6 months, Amanda. You've been spending our money on hotels, dinners, jewelry for him, and you want me to believe you didn't mean for it to happen?" Tears streamed down her face, but I didn't feel any sympathy, not anymore. "I'm sorry, Ethan," she sobbed. "I never wanted to hurt you. I didn't know how to tell you. I thought maybe I could fix things, but..." "Fix things?" I interrupted. "By continuing to lie to me? By pretending everything was fine while you were off screwing someone else?" She flinched at my words, but didn't argue. She knew there was nothing she could say to make this better. For the first time in my life, I felt completely and utterly betrayed. The woman I'd built a life with, the person I thought I could trust more than anyone, had ripped my world apart. But as much as I wanted to lash out, I knew I had to stay calm. I had a plan, and I wasn't about to let her tears derail it. "I want you to leave," I said finally, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. "Pack your things and go. Stay with one of your friends. I need time to figure out what happens next." Amanda looked at me, her face crumpling with despair. "Ethan, please don't do this. Let's talk about it." "There's nothing to talk about," I said firmly. "You made your choice, Amanda. Now it's my turn to make mine." She didn't argue after that. She packed a bag and left, leaving me alone in the house that now felt like a stranger's. I stood in the doorway, watching her car disappear down the street, and for the first time in months, I felt a strange sense of clarity. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Amanda might think she's the only one who can play games, but she's about to find out just how wrong she is. After Amanda left, I sat in the silence of our home, trying to calm the storm raging inside me. Every corner of the house felt like a reminder of her betrayal. The wedding photos on the mantle, the framed postcards from our vacations, even the couch where we used to binge-watch shows together. Everything was tainted, but I wasn't going to let this destroy me. If Amanda thought she could cheat on me, lie to my face, and walk away unscathed, she was in for a rude awakening. I spent the next few days putting my plan together. It wasn't about revenge for the sake of revenge. I didn't want to hurt her physically or ruin her life. But I did want her to face the consequences of her actions, and to understand just how much damage she'd caused. My goal was simple: to take back control of my life and make sure she knew that I wouldn't be a doormat for her lies. The first step was meeting with a lawyer. I wasn't sure if I wanted a divorce yet, but I needed to know my options. Luckily, my friend Michael had recently gone through a divorce and recommended a tough but fair attorney named Lisa Carter. When I explained the situation to her, she nodded thoughtfully. "You have a strong case, Ethan," she said. "Infidelity is a big deal, especially if you have evidence. Do you want to file right away, or do you want to take some time to think about it?" "I'm not ready to decide yet," I admitted, "but I want to be prepared for whatever comes next." Lisa assured me that she'd have the paperwork ready if I chose to move forward. She also gave me some advice: stay calm, stay smart, and don't do anything rash. Emotional decisions can come back to bite you in situations like this. With the legal side handled, I turned my attention to the next phase of my plan. I needed Amanda to understand the depth of her betrayal, not just to me, but to the life we'd built together. And I had an idea for how to make that happen. A few days later, Amanda called me. She sounded hesitant, like she wasn't sure if I'd even answer. "Ethan, can we please talk? I know I messed up, but I need to see you. I need to explain." I agreed to meet her, but not at our house. I suggested a local cafe, a neutral ground where emotions wouldn't escalate too much. When I arrived, she was already there, sitting at a table by the window, nervously stirring a cup of coffee. "Thanks for coming," she said softly when I sat down. I didn't respond right away, just studied her face. She looked tired, like she hadn't slept in days. Her guilt was written all over her, but I wasn't here to offer her comfort. "What do you want, Amanda?" I asked, keeping my tone steady. She took a deep breath. "I want to fix this, Ethan. I know I've hurt you, and I'll do whatever it takes to make things right. I love you. I don't want to lose you." I raised an eyebrow. "You love me? Is that what you were thinking when you were sneaking around with Daniel?" Her face crumpled, and tears welled up in her eyes. "It was a mistake," she whispered. "I know I can't take it back, but I want to try to rebuild what we had. Please, Ethan." I let her words hang in the air for a moment, then leaned forward. "Do you even understand what you've done, Amanda? Do you have any idea how much you've broken?" She started to speak, but I held up a hand to stop her. "No, let me finish. This isn't just about you and me. It's about trust, respect, and everything we built together. You didn't just cheat on me, you cheated on us. On the life we were building." She broke down then, sobbing quietly into her hands. A part of me wanted to feel sorry for her, but another part felt like she deserved to face the pain she'd caused. When she finally calmed down, I leaned back in my chair. "You say you want to fix this," I said, "but actions speak louder than words, Amanda. I'm not going to make any decisions right now, but know this: you're going to have to prove to me that you're serious, and it won't be easy." She nodded, wiping her tears with a napkin. "I'll do anything," she said. "Just tell me what I need to do." I didn't respond. Instead, I stood up and walked out of the cafe, leaving her sitting there alone. I had one final step in my plan, and it was already in motion. That night, Amanda returned home, thinking we might finally start working things out. But when she stepped into the living room, she froze. On the coffee table was a neatly arranged folder, and next to it, a small USB drive. "What's this?" she asked cautiously. "It's everything," I said calmly. "Every text, every receipt, every lie you told me. It's all there. I wanted you to see just how much damage you've done." Her hands shook as she picked up the folder and started flipping through it. Her face grew paler with every page, every piece of evidence that I'd meticulously gathered. When she got to the end, she looked up at me, tears streaming down her face. "Ethan, I've seen enough," I said, cutting her off. "This isn't about forgiveness, Amanda. This is about accountability. You need to face what you've done, not just to me, but to yourself." She collapsed onto the couch, clutching the folder like it was a lifeline. For the first time, I saw true remorse in her eyes. But it wasn't enough, not yet. She needed to learn that actions have consequences, and I wasn't going to let her walk away without facing them. Amanda didn't sleep that night. I could hear her pacing in the guest room, the faint rustle of papers as she flipped through the evidence I'd left for her. Part of me wondered if she truly understood the gravity of what she'd done, or if her tears were just a reaction to being caught. Either way, I wasn't about to make this easy for her. The next morning, she approached me cautiously as I sat in the kitchen, sipping my coffee. She looked exhausted, her eyes puffy from crying. "Ethan," she began, her voice trembling. I don't know what to say. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'll do anything to make this right. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I took another sip of coffee and set the mug down. You keep saying that, Amanda, that you will do anything. But what does that even mean? Are you willing to undo the lies, to face the consequences of your choices? She nodded quickly, desperate. Yes, I'll do whatever it takes. Please, Ethan, just tell me what you want. For a moment, I let her words hang in the air. Then I stood up, walked over to the counter, and picked up another folder I'd prepared. If you're serious, Amanda, then you'll sign this. She hesitated, her eyes darting to the folder in my hands. What is it? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. It's a postnuptial agreement, I said firmly. If we're going to even consider moving forward, I need to know that you're committed. This ensures that if you ever betray me again, I walk away with everything. Our house, our savings, everything we built together. Her face crumpled, and for a moment, I thought she might refuse. But then she nodded, her shoulders slumping in defeat. I'll sign it, she said quietly. I'll sign whatever you need me to. I handed her the folder and watched as she flipped through the pages, her hands shaking. She didn't argue, didn't try to negotiate. She simply signed her name where I indicated and handed the folder back to me. This is step one, I said, tucking the folder away. But it's not enough. You need to tell me everything, Amanda. Every lie, every secret. If I find out you're still hiding something, we're done. No second chances. She nodded again, tears streaming down her face. Okay, she whispered. I'll tell you everything. The next few hours were brutal. Amanda confessed to everything. And while some of it was what I already knew, other parts cut me even deeper. She admitted that her relationship with Daniel had started out as a harmless flirtation at work, but over time, it had escalated. Late-night texts turned into lunches, lunches turned into dinners, and eventually, it became physical. I didn't plan for it to happen, she said, her voice breaking. But I didn't stop it either. And I hate myself for it. I wanted to yell, to throw something, to let my anger out, but instead, I stayed calm. I needed to hear it all, no matter how much it hurt. And what about Kate? I asked. Did she know? Amanda hesitated, then nodded. She suspected. I never told her outright, but she knew something was going on. That's why she invited you to the party. I think she wanted you to find out. I made a mental note to thank Kate later. If it weren't for her, I might still be living in ignorance. After Amanda's confession, I needed time to process everything. I told her to stay at her friend's place for a few more days while I figured out what to do next. She agreed, though I could tell she didn't want to leave. But I needed space. I couldn't think clearly with her around. During those days, I started taking steps to rebuild my life. I reached out to friends I hadn't seen in years, people I'd drifted away from because I was so focused on my marriage. I even started going to the gym again, something I hadn't done since our honeymoon. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was claiming a part of myself that I'd lost. But I wasn't done with Amanda yet. There was one more thing I needed her to do. When Amanda came back a week later, she looked nervous. I could tell she was bracing herself for whatever I was about to say. Ethan, I'm so sorry for everything, she began, her voice trembling. I'll spend the rest of my life making this up to you, if you let me. I held up a hand to stop her. Before we talk about the future, there's one more thing I need you to do. She looked at me wearily. What is it? I handed her the USB drive I'd shown her earlier. This has everything on it. All the texts, the photos, the receipts. I want you to take it to Daniel and end things with him in person. And I want proof that you did it. Her eyes widened in shock. Ethan, no excuses, Amanda, I said firmly. If you're serious about fixing this, then you'll do it. If not, you can pack your things and leave for good. She hesitated, her eyes filling with tears, but then she nodded. Okay, she whispered. I'll do it. The next day, Amanda met with Daniel. I didn't go with her, but I made sure she recorded the conversation. When she came back, she handed me the USB drive with a solemn expression. It's done, she said quietly. I watched the recording later that night. In it, Amanda confronted Daniel at a cafe, just like I'd asked. She told him it was over, that she'd made a mistake and was committed to repairing her marriage. Daniel didn't take it well. He tried to convince her to leave me, to run away with him, but she stood her ground. By the end of the conversation, he looked furious, but she walked away without looking back. Watching the video was painful, but it also gave me a strange sense of closure. Amanda had taken the first real step toward earning back my trust. It wasn't enough to fix everything, but it was a start. The days that followed Amanda's confrontation with Daniel were quiet, almost unnervingly so. She stayed in the house but kept her distance, giving me space to think and process everything. On the surface, things seemed calm, but beneath it all, I felt a tension that hadn't yet been resolved. I threw myself into work and personal growth. I started taking on new projects, hitting the gym every morning, and even signed up for a cooking class, something I'd always wanted to do but never found the time for. It wasn't just about distracting myself. It was about rediscovering who I was outside of being Amanda's husband. As for Amanda, she seemed to be doing her best to prove she was serious about fixing things. She started therapy, both on her own and for us as a couple. She apologized daily, not just with words, but with actions. She cooked dinner, cleaned the house, and constantly checked in with me. She was trying, and I could see that. But forgiveness doesn't come easily when trust is shattered. A few weeks later, something unexpected happened. I was at work when I got a call from Kate, the same friend who had tipped me off about the party. "Ethan, we need to talk," she said, her voice urgent. I stepped outside to take the call, feeling a mix of curiosity and dread. "What's going on, Kate?" "It's about Amanda and Daniel," she said. "I don't know how to say this, but I think Daniel's trying to get back at her. I overheard him talking to someone at work, and he mentioned having something planned for Amanda." My stomach tightened. "What kind of plan?" "I don't know the details," Kate admitted, "but it didn't sound good. He's bitter, Ethan. He's not the kind of guy who lets things go easily." "Thanks for telling me," I said, my mind already racing. After the call, I couldn't focus on work. If Daniel was planning something, I needed to be prepared. I didn't want Amanda to get hurt, no matter how angry I was at her. So I decided to do a little digging of my own. That evening, I told Amanda about Kate's call. She looked genuinely scared. "Ethan, I swear I haven't talked to him since that day," she said. "I don't know why he'd want to do anything to me." "I believe you," I said, though it felt strange to say those words. "But I'm not taking any chances. If he tries something, I want to know about it." To my surprise, Amanda nodded and suggested we install a security camera system at the house. I agreed, and by the end of the week, our home was covered. It felt like a necessary precaution, though a part of me wondered if I was being paranoid. A week passed without incident. Amanda and I continued our uneasy dance of rebuilding, though things were still far from normal. Then one evening, as we were sitting down to dinner, my phone buzzed. It was an alert from the security system. I opened the app and froze. The camera feed showed a man standing in our driveway, looking directly at the front door. It was Daniel. "What is it?" Amanda asked, noticing my reaction. "It's him," I said, my voice cold. "He's here." Amanda's face went pale. "What do we do?" "I'll handle it," I said, standing up. "Stay here." I stepped outside, keeping my phone in hand in case things went south. Daniel stood there, arms crossed, with a smug look on his face. "Ethan," he said, his tone almost mocking, "we finally meet. I was wondering how long it would take for you to come out." "What do you want?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. He smirked. "Oh, nothing much. Just wanted to see how Amanda is doing. She's been ignoring my messages, and I figured a little visit might remind her of what she's missing." "You need to leave," I said firmly. "Now." "And what if I don't?" he challenged, stepping closer. "What are you going to do about it?" I didn't rise to the bait. Instead, I held up my phone, showing him the recording from the security camera. "You're already trespassing, Daniel. Leave now, or I call the police." His smirk faltered, but he didn't back down. "You think you've won, don't you? She'll cheat on you again, Ethan. Women like her don't change." His words stung, but I didn't let it show. "That's not your concern anymore. Leave, or you'll regret it." Daniel stared at me for a long moment, then laughed bitterly. "Fine, but don't say I didn't warn you." He turned and walked away, disappearing into the night. When I went back inside, Amanda was waiting for me, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. "How did it go?" she asked nervously. "It's done," I said simply. "He won't bother us anymore." She let out a shaky breath of relief. "Ethan, I don't know how to thank you. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm not there yet, Amanda," I said, cutting her off. "This isn't about forgiveness. It's about moving forward, whether that's with you or without you. I haven't decided." Her face fell, but she nodded. "I understand," she said quietly. I'll keep doing whatever it takes to earn back your trust. Over the next few weeks, things began to change. Amanda continued therapy and started volunteering at a local shelter, something she said helped her feel grounded. I, too, found solace in rebuilding my own life, spending time with friends, picking up new hobbies, and rediscovering who I was outside of our marriage. But the question of whether I could truly forgive Amanda still lingered. Could I ever look at her without seeing the betrayal? Could I trust her again, knowing how easily she'd lied to me before? One evening, as we sat together on the porch watching the sunset, Amanda turned to me. "Ethan," she said softly, "I know I've hurt you in ways I can never take back. And I understand if you can't forgive me. But I want you to know that I'll always love you, no matter what you decide." I looked at her, searching her face for any trace of deceit, but all I saw was sincerity and regret. "I don't know what the future holds, Amanda," I said finally. "But if we're going to try to rebuild this, it's going to take time. A lot of time." She nodded, tears filling her eyes. "I'm willing to wait for as long as it takes." For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of hope. It wasn't much, but it was a start. As for Daniel, true to his word, or maybe just out of fear, he stayed away. I never heard from him again, and Kate later told me he'd been transferred to another office. Whether it was voluntary or forced, I didn't care. He was out of our lives, and that was all that mattered. In the end, Amanda and I didn't go back to the way things were. We couldn't. But we started building something new, brick by brick, day by day. Whether it would last, only time would tell. But for now, it was enough.